Coming in at number 10, we have the Tic Tac. Not the breath freshener candy, I'm talking about the shape of an alien mothership here, you know? The Tic Tac shape has been reported for decades by UFO witnesses and pilots all over the world, and this video was one of the 3 that the Pentagon eventually have declassified in the past few couple years. The Tic Tac incident begins around November 10th, 2004. When radar operators reported seeing odd and slow-moving objects flying in groups of 5 to 10 off the coast of San Diego. Commander David Fravor and the Black Aces Squadron were asked by the USS Nimitz if they could aid in identifying what exactly was over their radar for the past couple weeks. The 2 F-18s chased this during an exercise. Yeah, imagine chasing a UFO. Like Top Gun 3, Reptilians. One of the pilots, Chad Underwood, got video and his displays caught some pretty crazy stuff. All the pilots who were involved said the object looked like a large white Tic Tac candy, unlike any other known aircraft. These objects have been sighted overcoming the Earth's gravity with no visible means of propulsion. They also lack any flight surfaces such as wings or lights. So what exactly is this flying candy? I don't know. And number 9, the Go Fast. This next video was the second out of the 3 videos that the Pentagon finally declassified. I say finally after they got leaked, and then the Pentagon of course was like, oh yeah, those 3 videos, yeah, of course they're authentic. Like, yeah, thanks for the heads up. The video shows a rounded object absolutely hauling ass across the water. The USS Theodore sent out some jets to see what the buzz was. The latest tech from the US can't even really get a read at first, but after some recalibrating, the fighter jet systems picks up and locks onto its target. The relief and confusion from the pilots makes this video great. They can't even believe what they're witnessing. After playing with different mods, the backseater is able to show the steady moving object in different lenses, infrared, thermal. It's the real deal. I would have just pretended to pass out as soon as we were close, you know what I mean? Just whoop, whoop. Number 8. Gimbal. When Lou Elizondo ran the Defense Department initiative called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP, he compiled a list of logic-defying capabilities most commonly associated with UAP sightings. The new term for UFOs. Yeah. He calls those traits the 5 observables: anti-gravity, sudden acceleration, hypersonic velocity, cloaking and low visibility, and transmedium travel. The 3rd video leaked and finally declassified from the Pentagon is the gimbal video. We're taken aboard the same carrier ship, the USS Theodore Roosevelt, taken also in 2015. The video shows a flying object and was shot off the screen of an operator aboard the USS Roosevelt. It moves, turns, rotates. Yeah, how much movement it isn't making is actually the scary part. So stationary. No means of propulsion, no exhaust. This thing's weird, dude. The official Navy video was taken in 2015 and filmed aboard a Navy fighter jet from the nuclear aircraft carrier, the USS Theodore Roosevelt, off the eastern coast near Florida. And this thing looks like a floating, spinning top. Just sitting there. I'm just gonna say it. That's what I think it looks like. You know what I mean? Number 7. Swarm Splash. We now have 2 videos taken from military personnel from apparently the same incident. Isn't that interesting? Makes it realer and realer, doesn't it? The radar footage released by Jeremy Corbell shows multiple objects popping up and around the Navy's USS Omaha from an incident in July 2019. The ship was about 125 miles off the coast of San Diego when the footage was recorded. Radar shows the USS Omaha absolutely being swarmed by 14 UFOs. In the same incident, that a spherical aircraft was filmed disappearing into the Pacific Ocean. Okay, this is getting scary now. Same ship, 2 vids, same time. The radar shows the blips hovering around the ship, not really doing anything. Also, imagine 14 unidentified aircrafts above a US warship. It would be game over, like boom 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 dude out of the sky. But instead, we're just left with the videos, scratching our heads, in awe. Then the thing splashes into the water, showing transmedium travel. You can hear the operator say mark bearing and range, so they were clocking these things. This has unlocked a new fear of mine. Yeah, water. Jaws has nothing on me now. Number 6. Congress. May 17th of this year was the first United States official Congress hearing in the last 50 years. Monumental. From Blue Book to UAPs. They tried to make this hearing look as dated and as boring as they could, but there were 2 videos shown at the hearing. One, a USO, unidentified submerged object, shown only to officials at a closed room conference after the hearing. And this one, the 2.3 seconds of something shiny just whizzing by a ship. Apparently they said it was a deflated balloon. I'm surprised it's not swamp gas way up there. See, this is the government we know and love. leaking and sharing, one terrible video out of 140 cases between 2004 and 2021, and this is it? This is barely anything. Lawmakers were shown declassified images and footage of UFOs. I'd love to see their faces before and after the briefing. You know, they just walk in, walk out. Number 5. Pyramids. The video and photos of this next encounter were originally shared at the Office of Naval Intelligence briefing on May 1st, 2020, and later leaked to Jeremy Corbell, filmmaker and ufologist. For those of you who don't know Jeremy, he's like our guy. He's pushing the boundaries, he's putting pressure on officials, he's a filmmaker and an avid UFOer like me. And he's got his hands in some pretty deep pockets. I'm just as puzzled with this video as you are. Green pyramids? Pulsing? The leaked video of flashing triangle-shaped objects that flew over a US warship is the real deal, the Pentagon said, after UFO investigators released the video and other puzzling photos online. Shot through night vision from the ship itself, the Pentagon confirmed in a statement that the leaked photos and videos were captured by official US Navy, though it's declined to label them as UAPs. Quote, I can confirm that the referenced photos and videos were taken by Navy personnel, Pentagon spokesperson Susan Gao said in a statement. Okay, so they're real, but what are they? Is this what the Egyptians based theirs off of? I don't know, what do you think? Number 4. Mexico. On March 5th, 2004, a Mexican Air Force flight crew filmed 11 unidentified flying objects in the skies over southern state of Campeche. But the public was not notified of the sightings until Mexico's Defense Department issued a statement on May 12th, days later. Of course. I get it, you gotta come up with an excuse, we get it. A press release was accompanied by a videotape that showed some bright objects resembling orbs of light moving quickly on an evening cloudy sky. The lights were actually extreme heat sources filmed by the crew using infrared technology during a surveillance mission in search of drug smuggling planes. They were reportedly flying at an altitude of about 11,000 feet. The Mexican Air Force has released footage of what a UFO expert said were 2, then 11 objects picked up as they whizzed around the clouds, sometimes disappearing totally. I just saw Jordan Peele's Nope, and the clouds thing is really messing with me. Yeah, spoiler alert. Sorry. Number 3. Chile. Experts still can't explain this next video captured from a Navy helicopter. After 2 years of study, Chilean authorities have declassified and released a 9-minute video of a UFO. On the afternoon of November 14, 2014, a Chilean Navy pilot and a technician were flying a helicopter along the coast when they saw something fishy. They were going north in a twin-engine Airbus Cougar when something appeared in the sky and matched their velocity of 130 knots. The helicopter's technician was testing the thermal imaging properties of the infrared FLIR high-definition camera. After minutes, the pilot and technician observed the object make 2 distinct discharges of some type, liquid or gas, which produced a red-hot signature captured by the infrared imager. The Navy turned the video over to the Committee for the Study of Anomalous Aerial Phenomenon known as CEPHA. This is the Chilean government group that investigates UFO sightings. I guess the 6th observable is if you see a UFO fart, because yeah, that's clearly a fart, you know? Number 2, Spain. This next one, yeah, I don't know if it's real or not. I thought the Scorpion King with the rock was real. Yeah, the latest CGI, you know? So who knows? But I can't stop watching it. The video allegedly shows a UFO filmed by a fisherman near Galicia, Spain. The craft hovers over the ocean before splashing into the waters as military jets fly overhead. We see 2 fighter jets whiz by this fishing ship, apparently following this craft. There isn't any official info surrounding this video, I just felt like it's pretty modern and shows some F-18s and the speeds that they fly at, you know? The fishermen film a 42-second video showing what I guess would be the Spanish military chasing a UFO accompanied by an unmarked blacked out chopper before slamming down into the water. If we use Elizondo's 5 observables and apply them to this video, we see low visibility, hypersonic speeds, and transmedium travel. The more I watch, it's gotta be fake, but after listening to all the fighter pilots talk about chasing these things literally into the water, it's got me thinking. I don't know. What do you think? And number 1, the Aguadilla Airport. This is probably my favorite UFO video. The longest, clearest and most puzzling. The incident took place in 2013 in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. Scientists who've analyzed thermal images of a flying object recorded in Puerto Rico are still trying to figure out what could have done this. A team of analysts working with the SCU, which is the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, a private group of scientists, military analysts, and investigators, produced a report analyzing this incident. It's a comprehensive stew of thermal, visual, and sensor data related to an unusual series of events in and around the Aguadilla, Puerto Rican airport. Yeah, they were experiencing a couple weeks of these things. This thing's just trucking steadily, splits into two, turns directions. Safe to say this video does a great job of showing Lou's 5 observables. What do you think? Are these crafts being piloted, by the way, or are they being remote controlled? Either or, that's absolutely terrifying.
Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have organic material. Just this morning we received a huge announcement from NASA. Of course, many of us are at least in some way familiar with the Perseverance rover that is currently on Mars digging around in the soil, and recently this rover has been searching at the site of an ancient river delta, trying to find any clues that might give us insight into the past lives of the planet. Well, that sweet little rover has made its most important discovery to date. A few recently collected samples have been confirmed to include organic matter. This means that the Jezero crater, which likely was once the home to a lake that the delta emptied into, well, it would have potentially had a habitable environment about 3.5 billion years ago. These organic molecules are supremely important because they represent the building blocks of life, like carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and while this discovery doesn't just flat out confirm the past existence of life on the planet, it is one of the strongest clues we've ever received, which is absolutely unbelievable. In our number 9 spot today, we have the mysterious beam. Before I dive into this one, guys, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button if you're enjoying this video so far. It does really help us out. Pretty recently, scientists explained that they captured a mysterious beam of energy that was coming from the star that is the closest known star to the Sun, Proxima Centauri. This star is small and low mass and is located about 4.2 light years away from us. The thing about this star is that it has one rocky exoplanet that is 17% larger than Earth in its habitable zone, which would make liquid water a possibility on the planet. This planet's habitability has been disputed throughout the years, but this signal could be a sign that it may be even more habitable than any of us know. Scientists explained that the signal shifted while it was being observed, which mimicked the shift caused by the movement of a planet. They're taking extra precautions to figure out what exactly caused this shift in case it was some sort of a mundane source, but it will of course take some time to figure out, but it's all very exciting. In our number 8 spot today, we have Europa. One of Jupiter's moons, called Europa, has a red tinge to it, and in 2001 NASA scientists revealed that it's possible that alien microbes might be responsible for this red color. The surface of this moon is mostly ice, but it has been shown that it reflects infrared radiation in a really bizarre way. This means that something is binding it together, but researchers haven't been able to come up with the correct combination of elements and compounds to make the data that they have make sense. There are some bacteria on Earth that can thrive in extreme conditions and that also have that red and brown color, which could potentially be responsible for the color on this moon. The surface temperature might be too cold for them to survive, but the warmer interior might be where they are located. Some geological activity on the moon could then push them closer to the surface, where they are then flash frozen in place. In our number 7 spot today, we have cyanobacteria. For around 2 decades, Dr. Richard Hoover has been studying meteorites that were found in Antarctica, and in 2011 he claimed that he and his team had found evidence of ancient bacteria from colonies that thrived on comets, moons, and other planets. The astrobiologist said they were able to make this discovery through the use of the most advanced microscanning technology in the entire world. Dr. Hoover sliced open these meteorites and discovered what they call the remains of cyanobacteria, also known as blue-green algae. This type of algae is said to have a unique quality and the ability to thrive even in some of the harshest conditions, which is necessary when talking about surviving the extreme environment that some other planets hold, as well as just space in general. Dr. Hoover said that while some of the bacteria he had found was similar to those on Earth, he also said that some of the others were completely alien. He said, quote, "Neither I nor other experts who have seen the evidence have any idea what these creatures might be. I believe these findings indicate that life is not restricted to Earth, but is broadly distributed, even outside our solar system. In our number 6 spot today, we have the radiation-proof bacteria. In 2002, Russian astrobiologists hypothesized that a bacteria here on Earth may have actually evolved on Mars. Deinococcus radiuranis is the most tough bacteria here on Earth. It can withstand even the most extreme conditions such as cold, dehydration, vacuum, and acid, but the craziest part is that it is virtually radiation-proof. These little microbes can withstand several thousand times the amount of radiation a human can withstand, as well as more radiation than any other bacteria on Earth. You can even find this bacteria on the inside of a nuclear reactor. That's how radiation-proof it is. Scientists did an experiment to see how quickly this bacteria could build up a stronger radiation resistance by zapping it with enough radiation to kill 99.9% of it, and then leaving the remaining 0.0% to repopulate before zapping it again and just repeating the process. It was concluded that it would have taken E. coli thousands and thousands of rounds to build up the same resistance that this hardy bacteria did in only 44 rounds. With this experiment, and based on the dose of radiation they gave each bacteria, it would take millions and millions of years to get even close to the amount of radiation they gave this bacteria in one cycle. Since Earth just doesn't carry that amount of radiation, it has led some scientists to speculate that since Mars is virtually now unprotected and receives extremely high amounts of radiation, these bacteria may have evolved on Mars and gained their resistance in just a few 100,000 years, and then they may have been flung off Mars by an asteroid and then brought to Earth on meteorites. In our number 5 spot today, we have Enceladus. Enceladus used to be thought of as basically just an icy snowball floating around in space, or as a small moon of Saturn with a diameter of 502 kilometers, but as it turns out, this small moon might hold some pretty amazing potential. It was discovered that this moon has hydrothermal processes going on underneath its crust. To us non-scientists, that means almost next to nothing, but what if I said that that means that it just might have all of the requirements for life, and that it is becoming a greater possibility that we might find microbial life there. Basically, this moon has an icy shell for a surface and then a rocky interior, but between these two layers is a warm ocean, and this ocean is where scientists think life is most likely to be. This discovery came almost accidentally when the Cassini orbiter arrived to Saturn in 2005, and it found water plumes shooting out of the cracks in the surface of this moon, which made scientists realize that it just may be geologically active. Through more research and by flying the orbiter through the water, by the time 2015 rolled around, scientists knew that it was holding all of the keys to life. While this little moon was never the original focus of research, it quickly took over with its incredibly exciting potential. In our number 4 spot today, we have light shifts. In the latter half of 2015, a Penn State astronomer named Jason Wright explained that there were pretty erratic and spontaneous shifts in light that was coming from a newly discovered star. The star sits about 1,280 light years away from us on Earth, and these shifts were very similar to as if something was passing in front of our view of the star briefly before passing through. Scientists weren't able to connect this to any exoplanets or anything like that, which we could understand, and this is what led Jason to quite an interesting theory. He stated that it is possible that the shifts are caused by massive objects passing in front of the star in a kind of orbit, like an array of massive satellites or a similar kind of structure, like the type of thing that would be produced by an intelligent and civilized life form. Again, like many things, it's just a theory, but a very compelling one at that. In our number 3 spot today, we have the UFO footage. Remember during the pandemic when there was that footage from the Navy that went viral where it captured some kind of UFO, but we didn't really have the time to freak out because we were all just like watching Tiger King and wondering what the hell was going on and when we could go outside again? Well, let's freak out about it now, because what the heck was captured on those videos? The US Navy released footage a few years ago where they had captured video of some sort of wingless aircraft that was traveling at hypersonic speeds. Of course, people are wary to believe that this is a true sign of alien life and alien visitors, but the thing is, we simply just don't really know what it is. We know it's not something that is known to us yet, so this definitely could be a sign of some sort of alien life. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But hey, if the Navy's worried, so am I. In our number 2 spot today, we have the bacterial experiment. On Earth, most living creatures require oxygen to live, but the problem with a lot of planets is that there's far more hydrogen and helium. Last year, scientists decided to take 2 different bacteria. One was E. coli, which can be found in the guts of humans, and ordinary yeast, which is used in things like bread and beer. With these 2 bacteria, they tried to see if they could live in different environments. When placed within flasks that contained either pure hydrogen or pure helium, they still managed to grow, just at a slower pace. This evidence goes to show that there might be living organisms that we haven't found yet because we are looking in the wrong places. In our number 1 spot today, we have the Venus cloud. Last year in September of 2020, astrobiologists everywhere were excited and skeptical of some new potential evidence that had been found in the upper clouds of Venus. Firstly, can we just take a second to really think about how cool of a job an astrobiologist has? Anyway, the new findings were pointing to the potential of the presence of phosphine in these clouds. Phosphine is rare and usually a poisonous gas that on Earth is basically always met with the presence of living organisms. Venus hasn't really been the top of the list of choices for finding potential life due to its surface temperature and pressure in the sulfuric acid clouds, but this evidence could prove to say something otherwise. 2 separate telescopes were able to pick up the signatures of phosphine in a cloud that had a similar temperature and pressure to Earth, and while this isn't concrete evidence of space bugs, it will at least be a reminder that we should continue looking for life even in the most unlikely places. And hey, maybe it is space bugs.
Number 10. Tic Tacs. Ah yes, the classic declassified Tic Tac shaped UAPs. That's a mouthful, dude. Scrambling destroyers, flying jets over the oceans circa 2004, we know about these things, right? Disclosure happened, people. Let's get up to speed here. I mean, look at the formations alone. The choreography is beautiful. These aliens are some good drivers, huh? Are these things drones? I feel like we just figured drones out like in the last 20 years. Some of these videos are from like the 1700s, so like what the hell's going on here? What are they doing over the water too? We haven't explored what, like 80% of our oceans? I say we get some GoPros down there, huh? A little drain the ocean action? There's gotta be like some sort of octopus species that likes free diving or snorkeling or something, you know? Trans-medium vehicles, people. Write that down.
Number 9. Parked alien. Okay, when I first opened this link, I jumped. So just a heads up, you got a creepy alien face coming in 3, 2, 1. Bah, there it is. It's silly, it's scary. I'm not really sure how I feel about this one, but either way, it definitely looks real. Reddit users claim since this photo hasn't been fully debunked, it can still be held up for debate. Fair. They're like, well, it's not real. We're like, I guess, sure. A common argument is, where's the prop then, okay? Where's the material that made this exact alien suit? This looks better than today's CGI. Let's just use that from now on in movies. This reminds me of the alien from Signs, that birthday party scene alone. That could have been number 1. That was some, me up for like 8 years straight, for sure.
Number 8. Metal Maltesers. So this metallic floating bowling ball was just recorded in Perm, Russia. Yeah, giant metallic balls like this have been found literally littered all around the planet for decades, apparently. Most famously, ufologist Gary Nolan is currently now studying these metal Malteser looking things that people have collected over the years. Right now in Texas, there's a dude, nameless, who has a ton of these apparently. Jim Marlin, famous music producer, I guess named, was given these metal giant pinball spheres by a celebrity's bodyguard apparently, who said that they were dropped off from a craft in his backyard years ago. And like, a lot of these celebs have actually touched these things. Dennis Hopper, Jane Fonda, these things are famous like on their own. They also move on their own and apparently hold power and light up once in a while on their own. Like, that's not scary at all. Hey dad, yeah, your giant metal balls are floating again. And can you tape Survivor? It's the finale tonight.
Number 7. Tom DeLonge Instagram post. Yeah, Blink-182. I can confidently say that the 3 of us in this room right now are Blink-182 fans, right? Obviously. I remember enjoying their songs, Aliens Exist. That one slapped right off the hop. But cut to 2022, former Blink member Tom DeLonge, he's now the co-founder of To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science. Yeah, he's into aliens in real life now, not just in music. And 25 days ago, Tom DeLonge posted what appears to be a photo of a real-life alien. Says Tom DeLonge. So you could be the judge of that. Here we go. What do you think? I vote real. I don't know. I'm like 80-20. What do we think?
That's real for sure.
That's real.
Number 6. Iron Man? Yeah, here, just for my sanity, we are all aware that not only do we have orbs, we have saucers, then triangles, and now Iron Man suits. Dude, this thing has a jetpack built into itself. That's gotta be Tony Stark. A silver saucer is scary enough, no? Imagine a little Jetson pod alien dude just hovering up to you on the side of a building. Like little escape pods. What is this, No Man's Sky? Like the dudes who commute to work on those one-wheel things in the bike lanes doing like Mach 12 with shoulder pads on? This is exactly where we're headed in like 15 years, aren't we? This thing just whips back and forth too. It makes me laugh so hard. Just the physicality alone, you know what I mean? Like he can't get it. He's just like left, my left, my left. Sorry, right.
Number 5, driveway alien. Doorbell cam footage gave homeowner Vivian Gomez quite the shock on June 2nd, 2019. Yeah, she looked and saw maybe an alien. We're not sure yet. What is that? Is that a person? It's a thing? I have no idea. I also love how unsure he is at first, like which direction he's going. If that's an alien, he has no idea where he is. He just had a rough night. He's like left, right, either way. I'm pumped. Let's do it. Like he's like, yeah, eastbound, westbound. Where's my planet? Is it this one? He's like dapping himself up on the way out. Whatever happened in that house, probably great. He probably got to like third base and he's like, he's ready, man. I don't know, fake or not, I hope aliens move like this. But he's got sea legs. He's not used to our gravity, clearly. He has no idea what he's doing. A little stronger than the moon.
Number 4, MUFON. Just shot over Houston, Texas. Dude, is this thing a giant floating Christmas tree ornament or a Halo ship? Cause like, what am I looking at here, you know? Dude, stuff like this freaks me out because like, as humans, we think we've seen everything and understand. And then you see like a new light up squid and you're like, oh, that makes my brain feel weird. Like when I don't know what I'm looking at and things are just like weird colors and different shapes, I just panic, you know? I feel like I'm losing grips on reality. Also, this thing is a MUFON case, which stands for Mutual Unidentified Flying Object Network. It's like 50 countries all working together, sending each other videos like this. It looks like some sort of glittery anomaly. See, I'm quick to say spaceship, but then again, I just saw Nope over the weekend and like, yeah, I don't really know anything anymore. This could be a creature or a body or a projection. It's 2022. I don't know.
Number 3, Dave Foley. Canadian comedy icon, Dave Foley. Yeah, we're talking about him for a little bit. Let's do it. So when the Kids in the Hall star took to Twitter only a couple of months ago, he caught the attention of all of his followers, including I, Mr. Alien Guy on YouTube. Foley tweeted, quote, "After years of interest in the UFOs without ever seeing anything, I saw something." Insane. I also imagine he tweeted this in his Bugs Life voice. That's just what I do for me personally. "This is a drawing of what I saw. I was with a friend who I'll let decide if he wants to be attached to this. It moved silently, at great speed, hovered, and pulsated with light." End quote. Now, this ship does look a lot like what we've seen in past reports, so who knows? Maybe Dave actually saw a UFO. Sorry, UAP. I have a big alien guy looking at me. He's like, it's UAP. I'm like, UAP, you got it. Sorry, man. That's old school. So who knows? Maybe he actually saw a real life entity. Maybe these aliens are fans of Bugs Life. Maybe they just loved Kids in the Hall. Maybe they wanted an autograph. I don't know.
Number 2, tea saucers. So apparently 2 of the editors from Titanic, have publicly made a comment saying that this video right here, if it was fake, would be very, very hard to do. They did the Titanic, dude. At first I was like, yeah, this is so fake. It looks like the intergalactic Beastie Boys music video. I was like, what? It looks so fake. It looks like the 1902 Trip to the Moon movie, like the black and white video. You know, the one with the guy's face in the moon is just like splat. Like the rocket ship crashes into his face. Like cheesy, right? Cheesy. Like a saucer on a string over a model building type thing cheesy. Nope. Apparently this one has experts stumped. Taken in 1997 in Las Lomas, Mexico. Always Mexico, dude. They have the craziest sightings. Look, it looks fake, but when people who edit stuff every day in the movies are like, yeah, we don't know how to do that yet. That's when it gets really scary.
Number 1, 2021 flyby. It's odd because we obviously joke and have a good time on this channel, especially when talking about aliens, of course. It's a nice change than, you know, King Henry and, you know, cutting heads off. It's nice. We like to take a break. But for our number 1 spot on today's list, look at me. Look how serious this guy is right now, right? I'm cocking my head to the left, I'm squinting at nothing. That's how you know it's real. I could tell anybody bad news with this face right here, and I'm here to tell you today on Bumblebee that we are not alone. Aliens do exist. They came out with this vertical portrait mode video. That's how you know it's real, when it's filmed like a World Star video. And the video itself is quite short, and that's because it's taken in the cockpit of a plane that is currently flying at high speeds, at very high altitudes. But it appears to be passing a metallic sphere. Yeah, this is what happens when a UAP enters restricted airspace. The pilot attempted to communicate a warning to said object, but of course, it was to no avail. I just said it was to no avail. That's how you know I'm being serious. There you go. These things are whipping through the air well beyond the speed of sound, yet there's no atmospheric disturbance, no sonic boom, no turbulence, only questions. Number 10, spider art. I have to start our list off with NASA's 1995 spider tests. I was always afraid of spiders growing up, and once I heard about this, it kind of helped out. So I don't know, maybe I'll help you as well. When nature meets science, we often get jarring results, be it hybrid animals, clones, you name it. Spiders, as fascinating as they already are, can be even more mysterious, believe it or not, especially when they're exposed to mind-altering illicit substances. NASA wanted to determine the toxicity between these substances and what differences they may look like in use. So spiders, being as fascinating as they are, we can see how they think and survive with their webs. We see it up close, when we accidentally walk through them and we go, ew. But we never see them like this, right? Caffeinated behavior is all over the place, right? It doesn't even look like a normal web at all. But with hallucinogens, it's the same shape, but it's almost missing steps. I don't think any animal should have coffee. I don't think an espresso goes well with a bug. Or a human, really. Number 9, the turkey fake out. This next one here is pretty funny, I had to include it. Back in the 1960s, turkey biologists in Pennsylvania thought, what if a male turkey was in a room with a fake turkey? What would happen, right? Would he try and flirt, right? Let's see what happens. Would he I am legend this fake turkey and just continue on living like everything's normal? Yes, turns out the answer is yes. These male turkeys would actually try and mate with the fake turkey, but by the end of the tests, they just had a head of a turkey on a stick. A fake turkey also, that'd be horrible. But these dudes still came out like, hey, what's going on, you single? Even though it was a stick with a photo of a turkey. These guys had no idea. How funny is that? They were just slowly taking away parts of a real turkey, and these dudes were coming out still with the same game plan, with the same keys to the VIP plan to get with that turkey, even though it's a broom. Number 8, Zorse. It's a fun one to say, let's do it. Zorse, it's a great word, Zorse. Male zebra, female horse. Now we get a really fun word, the Zorse. Sounds like a god, Thor, Odin, and Zorse. Zebroids are also quite common historically. See, Charles Darwin even noted some in his early work. So since the 19th century, crossbreeding zebras with horses or donkeys, it's all been done. More often than not, and this is what makes them stand out, zebroids will experience dwarfism. Yeah, they're quite cute, I can't lie. In 2010, a zedonk was born, a zebra donkey, but again, back in the 70s, 3 were born in Colchester Zoo. Yeah, way back then. Probably forgot about that. These zookeepers were like, how do we make the zoos new and hip? Oh, I have an idea. Yeah, bizarre. Humans aren't too smart. Let's stop mixing animal DNA. We get pretty jarring results all the time, I think. Number 7, inner armor. All right, let's change it up a little bit, shall we? DARPA's Inner Armor Project. This was the Pentagon's way of creating super soldiers. Yeah, and Marvel Phase 5 or whatever couldn't be a better time to bring this out. Scientists use animals as a reference for these new abilities, like literally from a Marvel movie. They're studying the DNA of the stellar sea lion because it can reduce blood flow away from organs if need be in order to reduce oxygen demand to survive. Yeah, that's like a superpower. We gotta figure that out. That would be sweet. Just Aquaman with a tactical vest? Okay, sure, let's do it. Dr. Michael Callahan, who is in charge of running the operation, says that the goal is to make soldiers kill-proof against disease, chemical weapons, radioactive weapons, harsh weather conditions, you name it, all that stuff. Now, this was back in 2007, and then later in 2014, Barack Obama just came out of nowhere and announced that the United States is working on building Iron Man. Yeah, apparently that wasn't a joke. Number 6, the Milgram experiment. All right, we gotta turn it up a little bit, shall we? While learning about our past in further detail, like the Trinity test, for example, and how that led to the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it's important to understand why these things happened and how people like the Germans were so easily influenced into doing what they did. So the Milgram experiment was put in place to start getting some ideas, right? How far will people go when it comes to obeying instructions, specifically if it involves a third party being hurt? Stanley Milgram, Yale psychologist, he created this test, and there's 3 important rules for this one. There's the teacher, the experimenter, and the learner. The learner is disguised as the main test subject, but they're really in on the whole thing. The real subject is actually the teacher, the one administering pain to the test subject. Yeah, they're told by this higher figure or whatever to keep upping the pain every time they get a question wrong. So the real test is to see how far humans will go when hurting others. The icing on this experiment, of course, is that the subject isn't actually getting shocked at all. These tests were underway in 1961 in a basement at Yale University. Imagine taking the wrong turn on your way to class, you end up here. It's terrible. Number 5, go pills. Okay, look out, 5-hour energy. We're pulling an all-nighter for this one. Every time I watch Lord of the Rings, I fall asleep. I can't help it. It's a lovely film, but it's so cozy. The music, just tucks me in, and I'm gone. Also, it's like 4.5 hours, so, it's not my fault. But that's not an issue in the real world, is it? No. Overnight truck drivers struggling to stay awake to pay the bills, that's a bit more important, I'd say. And that's where go pills were supposed to come into play. The pill that keeps you up for 40 hours straight. Yeah, doesn't that sound like a nightmare? What the hell? The US Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, again, DARPA, is currently funding this pill. The benefits it would have, I gotta say, if this thing works, I'm kinda on board, honestly. I can finally play 50 turns in a single round of Mario Party without having to sleep in between. It could finally be done. Or Monopoly. I could do 1 round of Monopoly, finally. Number 4, chimpanzee human. Also referred to as a human Z. Sounds awfully terrifying right off the bat. Look, here are the facts, people. We are very close to chimpanzees. Around 98% of our DNA is shared with that of a chimpanzee. That's why we look awfully familiar with our hands and beautiful eyes. Back in the 1920s, we got closer than ever. A human Z was not just a fantasy. Soviet biologist Ilya Ivanov inseminated female chimps with DNA, but it didn't work. Or did it? See, things got questionable when a chimp named Oliver hit the scene later in the 70s. He was walking like a human, referred to as the missing link because of his appearance. Yeah, he was previously a performance animal. He was a show chimp, so not a hybrid, but many viewed these experiments as immoral back in the day. Which is odd because I remember seeing chimps in family movies. I remember seeing like Most Extreme Primate, where he's doing like skateboard tricks, where he's like snowboarding all of a sudden. Air Bud as well. I don't know. What made these animals do all these sports? You know what I mean? Number 9, lions. Back in the 80s at the Chatbir Zoo in India, they started an experimental program where they would breed together a domestic lion, which is a bit smaller and has a less shaggy mane, with an African lion in the hopes that they could, be introduced into the wild and help with the dwindling population of wild lions in India. Sounds like a great plan on paper. Sure, here we go. That's a step forward. But is it? No. The zoo found 2 African lions that were being used in a circus and then brought them in to breed with their 2 Asiatic lions. Now, when the cubs were born, it was clear that this was already a grave mistake, as the cubs already had severely weak back legs. They couldn't even walk. They were having extreme trouble walking, and as they got older, their immune systems started to fail. And by 2000, they had bred more than 70 of these hybrid lions, and they finally decided to stop the program, and all the males were given mastectomies in order to stop any further reproduction ever. Thing is, there are laws that prohibited them from killing animals, so they were simply just waiting around for them to die off naturally. Yeah, when there's a dwindling population of lions, it's insane to me that they wasted 20 years trying to do this when they could have just simply bred lions that they had. I don't know. Number 2. Pyrenean ibex. The Pyrenean ibex also went extinct, now this time much sooner than mammoths. Actually around 2000, period. Not 2,000 years ago, like 2000 the year. Yeah, the last one was a female named Celia, and a falling tree sadly killed her. Of all the ways to go, really? That's just brutal. A subspecies of the Spanish ibex, the Pyrenean ibex, were native to the Pyrenees Mountains on the border of Spain and France. Now, back in the medieval ages, their population was reduced drastically to an endangered level. Knights and swords equals lunch. We now have lunch. So the numbers dipped, okay? More than fair. We got armies to feed, yada yada. But in 2009, science was ready for the Pyrenean ibex to return. Okay, that's a little odd. It was successfully cloned and brought back from extinction for 7 minutes. DNA from the last living lady was implanted in the womb of a domestic goat. Lung complications are why the clone ultimately didn't survive, but we had a hybrid medieval animal back for 7 minutes. We're getting close. To what? Not really sure, but we're getting close to something. And finally, number 1. The kunga, perhaps the earliest example of human-animal hybrid testing ever. Scientists recently learned about this donkey hybrid that once roamed ancient Mesopotamia. Now, this was a time before even horses were on this land, right? This was a long time ago. So they had to do something. Large kungas would pull wagons, and smaller ones would help pull plows. These little guys were the talk of the town. Imagine a hybrid animal before horses. No wonder they were a status symbol. Let's go. 4,000 years ago, they were given as gifts for weddings. Yummy. I wonder if this is a kunga. Smells like a kunga. After so long, scientists are finally able to figure out what exactly a kunga was a hybrid of. It was a female donkey and a male Syrian wild ass. Yeah, just a wild hybrid ass. It's pretty insane what you can still learn from ancient animal bones even from thousands of years ago. It's fascinating. More amazing how evolved this hybrid was in Mesopotamian culture. I don't know, should we bring back the kunga? Imagine seeing this thing in a farm, just pulling something.
Number 10, the Washington Flap. July 19th, 1952, air traffic controller at Washington National Airport spots 7 slow-moving objects on his radar, a fleet of flying saucers. 2 F-94 interceptor jets take off and become scrambled as each of them approached, radar included. 7 days later, the UFOs are back over the nation's capital as 2 more jets scramble trying to chase it down. One of the pilots sees a bright light in the distance and decides to give it a chase. Quote, "I tried to make contact with the bogies below 1,000 feet. I saw several bright lights. I was at max speed, but even then I had no closing speed. I ceased chasing them because I saw no chance of overtaking them at all." Newspaper headlines around the US scream, quote, "Saucers swarm over Capitol," and quote, "Jets chase DC sky ghosts." Probably not a good idea to just fly over the Capitol without saying hello first. Number 9, Roswell. The birth of the UAP phenomenon. Post-Cold War, 1945, the US's first nuclear explosion. 1946, the first underwater nuclear explosion. 1947, the first crashed flying saucer. Local rancher Mac Brazel finds the wreckage on his property in Lincoln County, New Mexico. Sheriff Wilcox shows RAAF's commanding officer Colonel Blanchard the materials, and during the night, the Air Force combs the entirety of the property, apparently harboring 2 small injured alien bodies. Taking them then to Kirkland Air Force Base, New Mexico that night, the very next morning, the Roswell Air Force makes a statement claiming that they have recovered a crashed flying disc in local newspapers. Boom! History, baby! A photograph of Jesse Marcel, the head intelligence officer who investigated and recovered some of the debris. The very next day, the Army retracts their statement, however, and all of a sudden, a high-altitude weather balloon, aka the birth of the conspiracy theory. Nuclear fission explosions, weather balloons. Something's not adding up here. Number 8, Betty and Barney Hill. The first real documented UAP abduction case in history. Betty and Barney Hill, married couple, New Hampshire, were driving home one night from a 3-day honeymoon when a light started following them in the sky. Pulling over after minutes of tailing, Barney got out of the car and gazed into the sky. From this moment on, the couple say 2 hours were lost. Betty's dress ripped, Barney's shoes scuffled, and both their watches 2 hours behind. Thinking nothing of it, they both reached home confused, and after weeks of no sleep, the couple reached out to a psychic researcher who could help them, and under hypnosis, the couple made some terrifying claims. They both, on separate occasions, claimed that they were separately walked into a large metal disc by small gray beings, and continued to operate and experiment on the couple on board. Blood taken, bodies examined, and both of them downloaded an understanding of a star system called Zeta Reticuli. The Hills stuck to their story for the remainder of their lives and remains one of the first and crucial American accounts of alien abduction. Number 7, Area 51. This secret base in the Nevada desert acts as the US's military hub for spatial engineering, maybe even some reverse engineering. The area is named after the geological grid of the desert. Groom Lake, Dreamland, this place has tons of nicknames. The area gained notoriety in the early 90s when numerous claims that workers had worked on alien aircraft and even heard of harboring alien creatures underground. The entire premises is fenced off with signs saying no photography allowed. Use of deadly force is authorized. That can't be good. Whatever they're hiding here, it's mostly military. The base has been a testing facility for the Air Force and remains one of the most highly secured and secretive bases in America. Remember the 2019 Storm Area 51 movement? Yeah, no one got him. Even the famous Bob Lazar has claimed he was an employee here. What do you think? Number 6. Travis Walton. The horrifying abduction of local Arizona forester Travis Walton. Some of us know the name from the movie Fire in the Sky, based on this exact case and filmed in 1993. On November 5th, 1975, Walton and a number of others from the logging crew were working with timber in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest. While riding in the truck with 6 of his coworkers, they allegedly encountered a saucer-shaped object hovering about 100 feet away, making a high-pitched buzz. Walton exited the truck and ran over curious. A beam of light then appeared from the craft and blasted him unconscious. The other 6 men were terrified and drove away before returning moments later in a panic to a now vanished Travis. Walton claims that he woke up in a hospital room observed by 3 short bald creatures. He fought with them until a more human-looking figure led him down another room where he then blacked out. Walton claimed that he remembers nothing else until he found himself awake, walking alone a highway 5 days later naked, clueless of what had just happened. It's terrifying. Number 5. Rendlesham Forest. The Roswell of the UK. Boxing Day. 1980. The forest lays between the military bases of Bentwaters and Woodbridge. 3 a.m., 2 military personnel, John Burroughs and Jim Peniston, respond to bright lights in the forest. The radios stopped working. There was a static feeling in the air and an odd absolute silence. The closer the men got, the more they realized it wasn't ours. Peniston was drawn in and touched the craft, instantly electrocuting him and apparently downloading him with odd symbols and star system maps before the craft then blasted off. 24 hours after, the craft returned and Deputy Commander Charles Halt is now witness in the exact same spot. The trees, petrified. The ground, radioactive. And there are 3 large landing holes in the grass. Years later, Burroughs and Peniston still continuously ask the British government for their medical records from that night that they never received. Almost 32 years later and still nothing. Creepy. Number 4. Zimbabwe children. In 1996, a mass sighting was witnessed by an entire school in broad daylight in Arua, Zimbabwe, Africa. More than 150 students and staff were present. There have been tons of documentaries surrounding this case. Face to face, arm's length with the craft and beings, the children, who are now mostly in their 30s and 40s, are still convinced. More than 100 students can still remember what they claim to be telepathic warnings from the creatures surrounding our use of technology and the hazards it has on our planet. Drawings, first-hand interviews, and the weirdest part, all the same story. Same description of the craft, same description of the beings. Director and writer James Fox documents this infamous interaction in his 2020 documentary called The Phenomenon. If you haven't seen this, check it out. I'm telling you, it's worth it. Number 3. Skinwalker Ranch. 500 acres on this land in Ballard, Utah, the most bizarre spot on Earth. Skinwalker, getting its name from the first Navajo people's word for an evil spirit that inhabits the human form. The reports start in the 30s with the Myers, then the Shermans in the 90s. Then, Robert Bigelow, creator of Bigelow Aerospace, purchases the ranch for the development of UAP and consciousness research with the Advanced Aerial Threat Identification Program, or also known as ATIP. Gifted a budget to conduct research, this is where it starts getting weird. 2013 UAP researcher Brandon Fugel then buys the ranch from Bigelow, and History Channel's team of the Skinwalker Ranch series, an entirety of a crew of about 160 people, remain there to this day, conducting experiments and living on the land. Some examples of reports are hundreds of unexplainable cow mutilations, flying discs, orbs, ghosts, Bigfoots, and of course, a giant pulsing magnetic signature buried under the mountain. That's horrifying. Number 2. The O'Hare Airport. The O'Hare Airport incident happened at approximately 4:15 p.m. broad daylight on November 7, 2006. Chicago O'Hare International Airport receives a report that a group of 12 airport employees were witnessing a metallic saucer-shaped craft hovering still over gate C-17. The object was spotted by a ramp employee first, then it was witnessed by pilots, then airline management, and numerous mechanics simultaneously. No air traffic controller saw the object on radar. A completely silent 7-meter dark gray saucer sits. Several witnesses outside the airport also saw the object, ringing up local police and reporting numerous phone-ins describing a disc craft hovering over the airport for numerous minutes without moving. According to another witness, the object then shot straight up through the clouds at high velocity, leaving a clear blue hole in the clouds. According to the Chicago Tribune the next day, the disc was visible for over 5 minutes and was seen by dozens of airport personnel. And coming in at number 1, we have the Tic Tac. November 14th, 2004, 100 miles southwest of San Diego, California, the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group, which included the nuclear-powered carrier and missile cruiser the USS Princeton, were conducting a series of drills in the Persian Gulf. Around 2 p.m., 2 FA-18 Super Hornet fighter jets from the Nimitz received an unusual ask to help with a real-time world mission. The Princeton's radar, which had been picking up objects for several days. The Princeton's senior radar screen showed over 100 UAPs in just that week alone buzzing the ships. When noticed one of the objects was flying about 50 meters above the water, Commander David Fravor and the Black Aces Squadron described it as about 40 feet long, shaped like a tic-tac candy with zero means of propulsion. Fravor decided to intercept the object at this point, and the object started copying the jet's maneuvers. Impossible by physics standards today. After engaging the UAPs, they vanished, and the strike group remained active, confused, and awaiting disclosure. Yeah, I'd say this encounter is the absolute best proof we have to this day. What do you think?